I presume you're talking about triskaidekaphobia. No, I'm not afraid of the number 13, and I have no superstitions. My mother told me the best way to ward off bad luck is to have a great breakfast in the morning, and I find these magically delicious. I did my high school and university at the University of Toronto, studied math and physics. I've always liked science and analysis and problem solving, but when I graduated, there were no jobs for physicists, so I actually happened into a real estate company. An entrepreneurial developer had bought a large computer, didn't know how to turn it on, so he hired me out of university and thought, this kid has done enough physics and math, he should be able to run this machine for me. So that's how I got into the real estate business to start with.
He's probably the most highly educated person in the real estate business. Not only does he have a degree in mathematics, geography, and physics, but he also has his master's from Oxford in management administration.
Steve's involvement in Covenant House goes back now 25 years. Back in 1989, 1990, when Steve joined the organization, we were seeing about 75 youth come to our house every day. Half of those kids had to sleep on mats, on the floor. Steve was critical in helping us to acquire an incredible property about a block away from the epicenter of where homeless youth hang out, which is the Eaton Center and Dundas Square. So we're now at the corner of Gerrard and Yonge. And it was StephenTaylor who helped us to acquire that property, and he also gave leadership to a $6 million campaign to help to renovate and bring that place to a quality and to the level that could provide the kind of service and support that it does today.
As a board member, you basically bring the skill set that you have as a business person to help manage their strategy, help them with risk management, provide the support that the CEO needs.
I first met Stephen at a fundraising event for Covenant House. I just found him delightful. I mean, he's an extremely personable and easy person to talk to, and spoke really passionately about Covenant House, which I was thrilled to hear. Sometime later, when I was looking for board members for the Catholic Children's Aid Society, I went to Covenant House and asked whether or not he was interested in serving in another capacity with another organization, and discovered that he was.
The Hope for Children Foundation is a way of collecting money so they get more than just the basics, the necessities of life. Instead, it provides them with scholarships to help them to get to university, opportunities to go to camp and join sports teams and the like. So some things that are a little bit above and beyond just caring for the basic necessities.
He engages with our young people who are moving on to post-secondary education, and many of these young people have struggled tremendously. They've had very traumatized pasts, they've got special needs, they've had to work tremendously hard and overcome a lot to get to the point where they can even contemplate going to a college or a university.
Even though Steve stepped down as our past chair in 2013, my experience with him is that he just continues to give back, and he does that in all sorts of really interesting ways.
I think he hit a high point when he volunteered to go out in the streets on November 21st to actually experience what it was like to spend a night in the streets of Toronto. Many of us would volunteer to do that on July 1st with a pina colada in hand, but not November 21st with a sleeping bag in hand.
He's an extremely gracious man. He is very respectful, very passionate about his community and his obligation as a person to give back to that community.
I think when everybody looks back at their career, they want to feel that they've made a difference, that there's something that lasts after they're gone. So the thing that excites me the most about the real estate industry is that we're builders of great cities, and those cities endure, and you're truly changing the landscape. When you talk about building cities and building great teams, it's a pretty natural step actually to say, I also have to build great communities. So what do you give back to the people in those communities and the social structure that really makes up the fabric of our society?
Stephen, all those years ago when we first met, I recognized your special gifts, and I want to thank you for bringing them to the work of the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto and the children and families that we serve.
I can't think of a more deserving recipient The work that you've done with Children's Aid, the work that you've done with Covenant House is a perfect example of what a busy person can achieve when they put their mind to it. You do it in a very self-effacing way, you do it in a very modest way, but you've been incredibly effective.
Is anybody more deserving? Probably not. Everybody I talked to said, Steve's the guy. And when I step back and I think about all the work, the contribution that you've made over the years, all I've got to say to you is, Steve, you're the best.
I may not be the most deserving recipient of this award, but I'm certainly the most grateful. I really appreciate NAIOP and applaud them for having a community service award. We do build great cities, but it's fantastic to also build great communities, and I think it's wonderful that NAIOP acknowledges that. I should also say thank you really to the wonderful people that work in the social service sector. They are consummate professionals that make do with little resources and do a fantastic job. It's been a real honor to be working with them over the last 20 years.